Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here at drupa. First, I want to say I hate PowerPoint presentations. I hate to give them and I hate to watch them. I remember back in the day, people would have their little bullet points and they would just read the bullet points from their PowerPoint presentation. I've always wanted to be a speaker, and I said that I would never do that if I was ever given the opportunity to speak to an audience. So I'm not doing that today. Some of these pictures may or may not make sense to what I'm talking about. I was actually inspired to create this presentation by my dear friend Deb, who, when she does a PowerPoint presentation, she'll just have one word on the screen to remind her about what she's talking about. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am extremely ADHD. I've been diagnosed with OCD, PTSD, and I'm a little bit on the spectrum. I own Tampa.media, which is the parent company of TampaPrinter.com, Sign Parrot, 813 Shirts, and Gorilla Consultants. I own 2 commercial buildings. Between the 2 of them, I have 23,000 square feet. You can see we have one of our shop dogs there. We have a shop dog at both shops, our little Frenchies. That's the sign shop. I have a thing for gorillas, if you haven't noticed. I'm also the co-host of the Printer Chat podcast, with my good friend Deb. We'll give you directions on how you can listen to that later if you'd like. Kind of how I got here is I spoke at the Inkish Non event last year in November, and that was really my first speaking engagement. So this is my second time, so bear with me here. Deb asked me to come and speak at this event, and I came up with this whole idea that I was going to launch a new business. I was going to launch a whole new company. I was going to apply all of the things that I'd have applied to marketing my businesses and growing my businesses. I was going to do a podcast around it. I was going to create a case study. I was going to do this whole thing, right? And my plan behind this was the building that my sign shop is in actually has, and that was going to be the company, We Wrap Tampa, which is for wrapping vehicles. I had a little ace up my sleeve. The building that my sign shop is located in actually was once upon a time 2 businesses with 2 electrical meters, which means 2 addresses. In the world of search engine marketing, an address is priceless, right? So I made the assumption that address was still valid, and I went to Google to create the Google profile for We Wrap Tampa, and come to find out that the address belonged to my neighbor. So I had to acquire an address, which is not an easy thing to do. My building is actually on the line, my property line is the line of the city and the county. And all of the addresses that were available were located in the county, and I was in the city. So I had to deal with both the city and the county, the utilities, emergency services. They're actually the ones that issue addresses. I had to deal with the property appraiser, the utilities, and then the post office. And the whole thing took about 2 months to get the address in place in a very short window. And I didn't really feel that I could start marketing it without the address. That was the key. That was the rock that I needed, was that address. So I started getting really stressed out that I had this whole real world situation going on that wasn't going my way, and I was going to give this presentation in a couple months. So I decided to change gears, and I was going to give a presentation on software, right? Which is a really hard turn. But you'll understand if you stick here with me. I've been working on software for the last 20 years. I am not a developer. I cannot write code. But I look at software similar to music. A talented musician or a composer can write a beautiful piece of music that anyone that can play an instrument can play. I'm an architect. I spec software. The software that I spec and that I architect can be developed and written by anyone that writes the code that's required. So, changed gears, decided I was going to give this presentation on software, but I still had a really big problem. My wrap business, which is one of the highest overhead parts of my business, was not doing very well. And the whole point of We Wrap Tampa was to accelerate that business. So I took the same idea or the same marketing concept that we were going to use for We Wrap Tampa, and we applied it to Sign Parrot. And what we did is we did all kinds of crazy ads. So we did excuse me for just a second. Yeah, we don't give a squawk. Size doesn't matter. There's an attorney that runs ads all over town. We actually had billboards with this on it too. There's an attorney in Tampa that runs ads that says size does matter. They're like the biggest attorney in the world, so our ad would be next to theirs. Size does matter, size doesn't matter. But we did targeted keywords, so search words for anything rap related would go to our website. We did retargeting, we did geofencing, we did social media marketing, we did demographic targeting, we sent direct mail, we had the billboards. We were doing all this marketing, but we still had another problem. The way we were directing our traffic and the incoming traffic was not proving to be successful. So what we did is we created a ClickFunnel. Now, what we were doing before is we were just sending people to the landing page or the e-commerce page where they could see the price of the vehicle wrap. So they could select what car they wanted, what type of car, their options, and it served them a price. But we never got their contact information. So if you're not familiar with what a ClickFunnel is, a ClickFunnel is, the philosophy is the more questions that you ask a customer before you ask for their information, the more likely they are to give you their information because they've been committed. They're enticed. They want more information, right? So we took them through this step, and at the beginning they actually selected what type of car they wanted, whether it was a van or a truck or a sedan or what have you. And at the end of this, it would actually take them to the landing page with the price. Now our ads, as we were, and I'll bring some of these back up. Yeah, so get an instant quote. So that was the button that they clicked before they went to the funnel. They go through the funnel, they give us their contact information, and then they see the price. But that change in going from just giving them the price to then asking them questions and then giving them the price before they gave us their after they gave us their contact information, we dumped everything into a Kanban format like this, which this is actually a software called Trello. We built the whole thing no code. So the funnel was built using a plugin for WordPress, and then we had everything with a Zap dump into Kanban. So it really was low overhead to create this. It worked like gangbusters. My Rat Bay is booked 50 days out. So as I went through, and here I'll show you the landing page that you actually land on. So this is the e-commerce page that they would land on to be able to make more selections. It was very simple. They just made one selection and they decided which page they would go to. But as I'm creating these funnels, because we've created more for other products, this was so successful that we've been applying it to other parts of our business. And it's been going really well. So what if we could get AI to interact with somebody during this process, right? So as they're going through these ClickFunnels and they're being asked these questions, it's actually reactive. Now, I want to show you a bot that we've been playing around with. Now, you're going to have to bear with me here because this is not my computer and this keyboard is not where the buttons normally are. So I'm going to typo really bad, all right? But this bot, all it's done is it's been set to crawl tampaprinter.com. So it hasn't been trained. We haven't programmed it at all. It's literally just, hey, crawl this page or crawl this website. So we can ask it questions like, what is the thickest business card? Spell all that right? It's saying it's all wrong, but I think it thinks I'm speaking a different language. I'm trying to speak German. So it's thinking here. And when it starts to talk, it gets a little long-winded too, right? So sometimes the explanations are a little bit too much. This one's actually pretty concise. So it tells you the thickest business card that Tampa Printer offers is 60 point. And then you can actually click the link. And it takes them to the product page for our color core business cards, which we actually make by taking compressed or pressure-sensitive paper, compressing it on the cutter, and stacking the sheets to make them crazy thick. So we could ask it, or say, like, and I like to look at it from what would a customer say. So what's something that a customer would actually ask or actually say to it? So I need a banner tomorrow. And this is the one where it gets really long-winded, which again, it needs to be trained. It should be set to have a shorter response, be more concise, but also ask questions and interact. And this is completely possible. My programmers are able to do this. This is just in the infancy stage of taking a bot like this setting it to where it can crawl any page, absorb all of that data, and then be able to communicate with somebody. So AI really is as good as what you put into it. So the data that you give AI is what it's going to use to produce what you need it to produce, whether it's an image, something in writing, or what have you. Now, the other part of this is I've been working on the same piece of software for the last 21 years? Yeah, no, 11 years. I'm aging myself over here. So I've been working on the same software since 2013. And I recently decided that it was time for me to do something on my own. I needed to build something myself and not continue to work on the software that I've been working on. So I skipped a part, and I actually want to touch on that. So there's two big problems here that this idea or this situation can solve from an AI and having this interactive bot. Deb mentioned something that I don't have salespeople, which is completely accurate. I don't have any outside salespeople. All of my business is driven to me through marketing channels. But I do have customer service people, and we do have people that call. So customers will call in, and we will help them and place their order for them. But one of the biggest challenges is finding somebody that can do customer service that actually has a knowledge base vast enough to be able to answer questions to customers correctly and even be able to suggest products correctly, right? And then the second problem is customers don't always know what they want, right? So the expectation of what they're trying to get isn't necessarily what they get because they didn't know how to express what they wanted. So to be able to have this bot be interactive and say, well, I need a sign. Well, is your sign going inside or outside? And that question alone dictates what materials it will use, what type of hardware you will need, and so forth. So the possibilities of this are really endless from a standpoint of streamlining the process of getting an order placed, but also ensuring that the order is correct and the customer gets what they need and what they want. So back to been working on the same software since 2013. I have a unique perspective when it comes to the printing industry. I started out as a broker. I was selling business cards through a website, the same e-commerce software that I have here. Until 2015, I had never touched a piece of printing equipment in my life. I went from being a broker into owning a print shop, a paper print shop. I started with one copier, one guy. He did the graphic design and I did everything else, to now having 2 buildings, 40 employees, so much equipment, sign shop, print shop, wraps, graphic design, t-shirts. We build websites, marketing consulting. And I've been able to do that with the marketing that I'm able to do, and I just work my ass off is really what it comes down to. But that perspective gives me a unique view on how software should really work, right? I was at the ISA a couple months ago in Orlando, the International Sign Association. And there was a company there, and I won't mention who it was, that was selling a piece of software that was clearly built for offset printing. But they're selling a piece of software that's clearly built for offset printing at a sign show to sign companies, right? So all of these different, and this is not unique, right? Software companies build things for one segment and ignore the rest. And when you have something that's built like that, the expectation is the company has to change their workflow to adhere to the software, right? All of these businesses that I run have very different workflows and very different processes. I've done the exact same thing. This software was built for being a broker, print reseller, and really offset and digital printing. Gang run printing is what this software was built for. It was not built for signs. It was not built for grand format. It was not built for wraps. It was not built for garments. We've hacked the shit out of it to make it work and created workarounds to make it work for those things. But the more workarounds that we create, the more problems we create, the more opportunity for mistakes that we get, the more issues that we're going to have, because you can't train against that. The more you have to train somebody to do something, the more likely they are to make a mistake. So the analogy that I like to use is it's like sticking a circle peg in a square hole, right? It fits, but it lets a lot of other things through, right? So I've set out to build a piece of software that will encompass all of those workflows and all of those processes, which means the software has to be nimble. It needs to be versatile. It can't be set in one direction or one way. It has to be built so that it can adhere to the workflow of the shop that's using it versus the shop trying to adhere their workflow to the software, right? And I'm in the process of building this. It's a ways off. I did have a recent opportunity that I think is going to accelerate it considerably, but we weren't quite ready for me to talk about it today, so I have to keep it under wraps. I'm hoping that it'll be finalized here in the next couple months. That's my presentation, really. I wanted to come out and just kind of talk about software, give you a little bit of my background, and hope that I step up to what I'm talking about and I'm able to solve these problems in the future, in the immediate or near future. Again, my name is William Crabtree. I'm from Tampa.media. All my contact information is up here. If you scan that QR code, it'll actually add me as a contact in your phone, and all my podcasts are there, links to all my websites, all that fun stuff.